Who was Tupac Shakur? A revolutionary poet, a gangsta rap icon, or a misunderstood genius? His life was a whirlwind of fame, controversy, and tragedy, leaving behind a legacy that continues to spark debates and conspiracy theories. From the streets of Harlem to the glitz of Hollywood, Tupac's story is one of resilience, rebellion, and raw truth. But what really happened on that fateful night in Las Vegas, and why, decades later, does his voice still echo louder than ever? Dive into the untold story of Tupac Shakur, a man who lived fast, died young, and left an indelible mark on the world. Tupac Shakur, quick facts. Full name, Tupac Amaru Shakur, born Lisane Parish, Crooks. Born June 16th, 1971, died September 13th, 1996. Birthplace, New York, New York. Spouse, Keisha Morris, 1995 to 1996. Astrological sign, Gemini. Decades after his 1996 murder, artist and actor Tupac Shakur remains one of the top-selling and most influential rappers of all time. Who was Tupac Shakur? One of the top-selling artists of all time, rapper and actor Tupac Shakur embodied the 1990s gangsta rap aesthetic and, in death, has become an icon symbolizing noble struggle. Tupac began his music career as a rebel with a cause to articulate the still relevant travails and injustices endured by many Black Americans. The boundaries between his art and life became increasingly blurred as Shakur faced legal problems and jail time. On his fourth album, All Eyez on Me, Tupac leaned fully into celebrating the thug lifestyle. It was the last album Tupac would live to see released. On September 7th, 1996, the 25-year-old was gunned down in Las Vegas and died 6 days later. Police continue to investigate his murder. Early life, mom, siblings, and more. Tupac Amaru Shakur was born Lisane Parish, Crooks on June 16, 1971, in New York City's Harlem neighborhood. His mother, Afeni Shakur, had been a political activist and Black Panther Party member who was arrested in 1969 for allegedly planning coordinated attacks on police stations and offices in New York City. She became pregnant with Tupac while out on bail, and she was acquitted in 1971 after defending herself in court. Tupac's mother, Afeni Shakur, in 1970, 1 year before his birth, when Lisane was 1 year old, Afeni changed his name to Tupac Amaru after a Peruvian revolutionary who was killed by the Spanish. She said of the name, "I wanted him to have the name of revolutionary, indigenous people in the world. I wanted him to know he was part of a world culture and not just from a neighborhood." Tupac later took his surname from his sister, Sekiwa's father, another Black Panther named Mutulu Shakur. Tupac also had a stepbrother, Mopreme. Tupac's father, Billy Garland, lost contact with Afeni when Tupac was 5, and he didn't see his dad again until he was 23. "I thought my father was dead all my life," he told the writer Kevin Powell during an interview with Vibe magazine in 1996. "I felt I needed a daddy to show me the ropes, and I didn't have one." Raising Tupac and his half-sister alone, Afeni worked as a paralegal before developing a crack cocaine addiction in the early 1980s. The family had to move often, struggling for money and living off welfare because she couldn't keep a job. Friendship with Jada Pinkett Smith. In 1984, the family moved to Baltimore, where Tupac enrolled at the prestigious Baltimore School for the Arts, where he said he was the freest I ever felt. This was also where Tupac met the future actor Jada Pinkett Smith. He wrote poems about her, and she had a cameo in his music video for Strictly for My Niggas. Pinkett Smith later told reporters that she was a drug dealer when she met Tupac, and that she resented the way the movie All Eyez on Me, 2017, later reimagined their relationship. It wasn't just about, oh, you have this cute girl and this cool guy. They must have been in this. Nah, it wasn't that at all. It was about survival, and it had always been about survival between us. Move to California and rise to fame. Tupac's Baltimore neighborhood was riven by crime, so the family moved to Marin City, California. It turned out to be a mean little ghetto, according to Vanity Fair. It was in Marin City that Afeni succumbed to her crack addiction, a drug that Tupac sold on the same streets where his mother bought her supply. Her behavior led to a falling out between mother and son. Tupac's love for hip-hop steered him away from a life of crime, for a while at least. At 17, in the spring of 1989, he struck up a friendship with Layla Steinberg, who he met when she was hosting holding poetry lessons in an Oakland park, according to Holler If You Hear Me. Searching for Tupac Shakur by Michael Eric Dyson. Already, Tupac had been obsessively writing poetry and convinced Steinberg, who had no music industry experience, to become his manager. She was eventually able to get Tupac in front of music manager Atron Gregory, who secured a gig for him in 1990 as a roadie and backup dancer for the hip-hop group Digital Underground. He soon stepped up to the mic, making his recording debut in 1991 on Same Song, which soundtracked the Dan Aykroyd comedy Nothing But Trouble. Tupac also appeared on Digital Underground's album Sons of the P that October. After Gregory also became Tupac's manager, he landed the up-and-coming rapper a deal with Interscope Records. A month after Sons of the P hit the stores came Tupacalypse Now, Tupac's debut album as a solo artist. Tupac often complained that he was misunderstood. Everything in life is not all beautiful, he told Journa. Legal problems in serving jail time. In August 1992, Tupac was attacked by jealous kids in Marin City. He drew his pistol, but dropped it in the melee. Someone picked it up, the gun fired, and a 6-year-old bystander, Quaid Walker Teal, fell dead. Although Tupac wasn't charged for Walker Teal's death, he was reportedly inconsolable. In 1995, Walker Teal's family brought a civil case against Tupac, but settled out of court after an unnamed record company, thought to have been Death Row, offered compensation of between $300,000 to $500,000. In October 1993, Tupac shot and wounded 2 white off-duty cops in Atlanta, one in the abdomen and one in the buttocks, after an altercation. However, the charges were dropped after it emerged in court that the policeman had been drinking, had initiated the incident, and that one of the officers had threatened Tupac with a stolen gun. Tupac noted the case illustrated the misrepresentation of black men in America and the attitude of some police toward them, which he had been talking about in his music. What was portrayed as gun-toting gangster behavior by a lawless individual turned out to be an act of self-defense by a young man in fear of his life. All the while, Tupac's star continued to rise. Unable to escape punishment entirely, Tupac went to jail for 15 days in 1994 for assaulting movie director Alan Hughes, who had fired him from the set of Menace the Sigu, Society for being disruptive. He faced much more serious charges in February 1995, when Tupac was sentenced to between 1.5 and 4.5 years of jail time for sexually abusing a woman. The case related to an incident that had taken place in Tupac's suite in the New York Parker Meridian Hotel in November 1993. Tupac maintained that he hadn't raped the fan, though he confessed to the Vibe magazine journalist Kevin Powell that he could have prevented others who were present in the suite at the time from doing so. "I had a job to protect her, and I never showed up," he said. Joining Death Row Records and All Eyez on Me. While Tupac was in prison on rape charges, he was visited by Suge Knight, the notorious head of Death Row Records. Knight offered to post the $1.3 million bail Tupac needed to be released pending his appeal. The condition was that Tupac sign on to death row, which Tupac did. He was released from the high-security Dannemora facility in New York in October 1995. Even as he was glorifying an outlaw lifestyle for death row, Tupac was financing an at-risk youth center, bankrolling South Central sports teams, and setting up a telephone helpline for young people with problems, according to Vanity Fair. Tupac's debut for Death Row, the double-length album All Eyez on Me, came out in February 1996. With his new hip-hop group Outlawz debuting on the album, All Eyez on Me was an unapologetic celebration of the thug lifestyle, eschewing socially conscious lyrics in favor of gangsta funk hedonism and menace. Dr. Dre, who had pioneered G-Funk with NWA, produced the album's first single, California Love, which went to number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100, and remains Tupac's best-known song. The third single from the album, How Do You Want It, also topped the chart. Within 2 months of its release, All Eyez on Me had been certified 5 times double platinum. It would eventually become diamond certified, reaching more than 10 million combined sales and streams. Tupac and Biggie Smalls, the story of Hit 'Em Up. The notorious B.I.G. rolls a cigar outside his mother's house in Brooklyn in January 1995. Before Tupac released his third album, he became a target. In November 1994, he was shot multiple times in the lobby of the Manhattan recording studio Quad by 2 young black men. Tupac believed his rap rival, Biggie Smalls, was behind the shooting, for which nobody has ever been charged. Smalls always denied he knew anything about the incident. In 2011, Dexter Isaac, a New York prisoner serving a life sentence for an unrelated crime, claimed music executive James Henchman Rosemond paid him to steal from Tupac and that he shot the rapper during the robbery. In June 1996, Tupac released a diss track, Hit 'Em Up, aimed at Biggie Smalls and his label boss at Bad Boy Records, Sean Diddy Combs. The song ratcheted up the tension between East and West Coast rap. In the inflammatory song, Tupac also spat venom at artists Lil' Kim, Junior Mafia, and Prodigy of Mobb Deep. Tupac and Biggie's rivalry was fast becoming hip-hop's most famous and ugliest beef. Hit 'Em Up seemed to chillingly presage Tupac's death and the ensuing conspiracy theories. Grab your Glocks. When you see Tupac, call the cops. When you see Tupac, who shot me? But your punks didn't finish. Now you're about to feel the wrath of a menace. Within 3 months, Tupac was murdered. 6 months after that, Biggie was too. Neither murder has been solved. Movies and other work. Along with his music, Tupac pursued an acting career. He appeared in several movies, M,